to understand that your people, the business they're in, may be fine. But if they are feeling the pinch in their personal wallet when they fill up their car, all of a sudden that's going to delay their expenditure mindset in the workplace. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay. See, so I've solved this whole gasoline problem because milk is cheaper per gallon than gas. So I'm just running milk in my car.
Some people are using beer. That works too.
Yeah. I mean, is that a problem? Okay. So if we get into this scarcity mindset. So what you're saying is that customers in both B2C, business to consumer, and B2B, business to business, because I believe it affects both sides. If they get into a scarcity mindset, how do we as salespeople get them beyond that to say, hey, it's okay, spend money with me?
Right. So still in our mindset of how, because what affects us personally affects us at work. So think about the things you're still going to buy all the time. You're still going to pay your electricity bill. You're still going to put gas in the car. You're still going to buy the things that you care most about. If you've got kids, you're going to buy diapers. If you've got babies, you're going to buy formula. If you're whatever it is you buy on a routine basis, you're still going to buy those because those items to you are considered inelastic items. You may notice that the price goes up, but you're still going to buy it. It doesn't really matter what the price is. You're still going to buy diapers. You're not going to go, oh, no, kid's just going to have to suffer through another 12 hours with that diaper. You're not going to do that. That's wrong. No, you're not going to do that. So inelastic items are things that we buy regardless of the price increase, which is why we pay attention to those things: gas, diapers, milk, all those things. Now, for many of the businesses, what you provide may be for them an inelastic item, which means they don't care that your prices have gone up. They're going to buy it anyway. The fact that lumber has increased by 10% simply because of a tariff coming in from Canada, which we imposed on ourselves, doesn't really matter. People are still going to buy lumber. So that is an inelastic item, but you may be paying attention to the cost. So your people, your buyers may be looking at your items and say, well, it's inelastic. We need it anyway. So we don't care about the price. That makes the sale easier. Where the challenge comes in is when people look at your items and say, that's an elastic item, which means I'm very price sensitive and I'm very market economically sensitive. I'm worried about if the price is going to go up in the future, then I'm going to buy now. I'm worried about whether or not I'm going to have the marketability of my end products, and will I be able to sell that at the cost I need? Is this a sourcing item? So the costs then become part of the mindset. Is it an elastic item or an inelastic item? If it's inelastic, people are going to buy it anyway. They may not be happy with you if the price has gone up, but they're going to buy it anyway. The elastic items are where it's very price sensitive. So things that are very price sensitive, for example, are luxury items, vacations. Women's hats are considered a very luxury item type thing. Jewelry, obviously, very luxury minded. So things that are not necessities then fall into that category. So what do you do? That's the question, is if you are selling things that some people can think they do without.
Okay. So if I'm in B2B and I'm selling to a business, my whole goal is to make what I sell be perceived as an inelastic item. That is absolutely critical. In other words, I've got to have this. You got to have this in order to do this. You've got to buy enough of this to be able to complete X, i.e., your lumber example. Now, that may sound okay. It's easy, but how do we go about figuring out what is really because what's inelastic to one business or one person might be elastic to another person. Is there a strategy?
There is. And one of the best strategies I've ever seen comes from this amazing book called A Mind for Sales.
Oh, wow. That's on the bookshelf behind me. There it is. Hey, bingo. Bingo.
It's behind me as well.
You can stop by the gift shop on the way out, pick out a prize picked exclusively for you.
Exactly. So one of the things you talk about in A Mind for Sales, Mark, is that idea of articulating the value that you provide. Now, what a lot of salespeople do, in my mind, is they articulate it once, and then they kind of hope that the buyer comes back to them like, hey, you met me. Would you like to date sometime, maybe in 5 years? They don't constantly, and this is the suggestion I would have for your listeners. They don't always remind people of that value proposition. They don't always renew that value proposition. They don't update their value proposition. And you articulate this really well in the book. You say, look, you've got to let people know why it is what you're selling solves their problem right now. And you can't just say it once, because again, the problems shift and their mindset shifts. So it's not just making sure that people understand your value proposition. It is re-engaging your buyers in ways that they find helpful.
You hit on something very, very interesting there, because this whole idea of inelastic or elastic, what I find is that there are businesses, and I had this situation come up the other day. Company, I felt they viewed me as inelastic and they were ready to buy. But now, just a month or two later, their marketplace has changed, and now they're kind of viewing me as elastic. And I'm having to create more value in order to get them to close the deal. So does time play into this whole thing? And I'm going to ask you a trick. No, not a trick question. I'm loading you up with too many questions here. I'm sorry. I'm a bad interviewer. Is inelastic tied to urgency?
Ooh, such a good one. So first, you're a great interviewer, and it's why I adore you.
Yeah, right.
It's one of the many reasons.
Because I paid you to be on the show. That's why. So.
All of the things. Where's my mug? Where's my sales hunter mug? I should have it with me, and I love it. But think about it in terms of what you can. We sometimes are substitutable goods. So whatever we are, whatever our product is, whatever value we're providing, if people get into that scarcity mindset, it's kind of like you go into the store and you think you're going to make tacos for dinner. Tacos are delicious. So you get the ground beef, you get the package of ground beef, and you go, wait a second, it's $10. And all of a sudden you go, what's ground chicken cost? And that becomes a substitutable good. So you promise the family tacos.
At least you didn't say, oh, we'll just have refried beans instead,
Hey, if things are really tight, you're going to go for the refried beans and you're just going to put some extra sauce on it and call it a day. So that urgency is a factor. But if you're really, really hungry right now and let's say it's one of your kids' birthdays and beef tacos is their favorite thing on the planet, then again, you don't care because you made that promise and that sense of urgency remains. So our job as salespeople is to solve the problem when the urgency happens. A very good friend of mine said, "'Tis wise the dentist who collects payment while the tooth still hurts." And I think that's a very valid point. When your tooth hurts right now, you want to be seen right now. And frankly, you don't care if it's a $50 visit or a $100 visit. You don't care. You just want the pain to stop. So how do we, number one, make the pain stop? But number two, have that value that people perceive that we are the first phone call. And the way to do that, in my mind, and you and I have talked about this before, is we as salespeople have got to increase our touch points. We have got to make more contact more often with more specificity in a way that is more impactful to the reader or the receiver of our communication, whether it's email, a phone call, a broadcast. We've got to be the ones creating the impact. And we've got to show that we understand what the problem is. And you're right. If it's the kid's birthday party and beef tacos are their favorite thing on the planet, then you're going to buy the beef. But if it's not, and if it's just, hey, there's going to be dinner and we've got to do some cost savings, chicken might be on the menu. So this is where we have to figure out what touch points are going to matter most to our people.
I just heard so much there, and we're at the 12 minute and 41 seconds. So back it up to about 10 minutes where Mary began talking about beef tacos, which really does sound good. Which really does sound good for dinner. And hey, we're actually recording this on a Tuesday, so it's Taco Tuesday. So what the heck, right? Right? What can I say? Okay, now here's something. Let's get serious here. You talked about several things. Touch points. We got to have enough touch points. You talked about urgency and finding out various need points, so to speak. And somehow we got to tie those three together. Because I'll tell you what I'm finding more and more. Urgency rules today. In other words, we have to, like you said, I love that line about the dentist. The dentist collects the money when you're in the chair and the tooth hurts. Spot on. Because if we can get you at your ultimate pain, you will pay. You will pay. But here's the challenge. Beef or chicken for the taco. Both are kind of, I can live with them. In fact, if I go out for tacos, I may order a couple beef and I may order a couple chicken. I'm okay with that. But if I'm the cow, I'm like, hey, I want you to have chicken. If I'm the chicken, I want you to have beef. It's just kind of a, prolongs life. How do I get other options off the table
There you
where
go.
I am the only choice?
Right. So I think part of that is making sure that our follow-up puts us top of mind with our buyers. So when people think, I need a sales consultant, I need somebody to come into my company and train my people, they think the sales hunter every time, because that is the logical choice. That is top of mind. They're like, he does this great podcast. He's on the air. People listen to him. He's got, 100,000 million followers on LinkedIn. He's the expert. So why would I go with anybody else? So that top of mind to me is critical. So how do you stay top of mind with your buyers? What are you doing so that when they reach for that coffee mug, it says the sales hunter, and they go, right, the sales hunter, I need one of those coffee mugs. And more than that, I need Mark Hunter to come in and do my training. How do we stay top of mind in a meaningful way? And many people think, well, I sent them a postcard a year ago. That's not enough. Our follow-up has to be consistent. It has to be value rich. And by that, it's tailored to that person. It is helpful for that person. It is providing them with what they need right now that is going to be helpful, even if it's not what I call salesy. So a lot of times, when you're part of an organization's consulting, you are constantly thinking of things that they can use, and you deliver that all the time. And they're thinking, Mark, he always thinks about us. He always is, sending us things, and we can use everything he sends. That's the value proposition, so that there isn't anybody else. They're not even considering the chicken. You're the beef, Mark. Can I say that on the air?
You can say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're the beef and the beef tacos.
Anyway, okay. So here's something else that you said. Top of mind. And the top of mind is your follow-up, not just a postcard, one message a year, but it's continuous. It's a continuous drip campaign. But it's also, I heard you say, kind of like marketing. We got to create enough awareness out there. I mean, okay, you and I can't be the Coca-Cola brand, but we can be top of mind to our individual customers. If, like I said, it's the reason I do the Sales Hunter podcast. It's the reason I know you post a lot of great insights routinely on LinkedIn. I get emails with incredible insights from you all the time. And I know you're sending those to your clients. So that's how you stay top of mind. Now, here's the challenge. Is there a right mix? Because I see some people getting drunk on marketing. In other words, they're so far off on the spectrum of social media, so far off of the spectrum of they want to push the easy button because they don't want to pick up the phone. And yet there's a balance. What do you see that balance being?
I think it's very much individual, based on who your clients are. And some of your clients love phone calls. And, I'm one of those people who I don't always think about picking up the phone, but when someone calls me and I see their name on the phone, I smile. I'm like, yay, Mark wants to talk to me. It makes me so happy. And I think, well, if I feel that way when Mark calls me, maybe other people feel that way when I call them. And many
Oh,
say,
hey, hold it. Back that up. It's not the fact that you use my name, but I love that analogy. Somebody calls you who you know, and you get a smile on your face. And is that the same thing that I like that. That's a great emotional visual picture.
because we don't get that same emotional connection when we read an email. We don't. When you
Yeah,
hear
you're
somebody's
right.
voice, that's why people listen to your podcast. When they hear your voice, it makes them happy. They get something out of it, and they know they're going to get value. When they get an email, it's not the same emotional moment.
I like that. I like that because it's so difficult for salespeople to get in the groove and to feel like what they're doing is actually beneficial. It's why I say, hey, look, if you have the ability to help someone, you owe it to them to reach out to them. Now, hey, we're getting some comments in here, and here's a comment here. Why don't you ask the client what works for them? This comes from Richard Goodfellow. Is that a valid question, or does that get you? Because I'm going to play devil's advocate here. I know some salespeople who are afraid to ask that question because they're afraid the call is going to end right there.
That's right. And and that's a really good point. And I love asking my clients, I'm like, hey, what's going to work best for you? How do you best want me to stay in touch with you? Would you like me to email you, call you, text you, do a webinar, do a short video promotion? Would you like me to give you a quick economic update just very quickly on the phone before that big meeting so that you've got the statistics right in your head? And that works too. So my different clients, as you know, they need different things from me. And Richard's exactly right. We've got to tailor our sales and our contacts to what works best for our clients. I had a client call me Sunday night. And she said, hey, Mary, I just got back from a trip and thinking about it on the plane, I think I got myself in a bad place in my head. And, what can we do? And she knows that if she needs me, she texts me and go, hey, can you talk right now? And 30 seconds later, I pick up the phone and she goes, oh, thank goodness, you've got time. Thank goodness you can walk me through this. So we've got to tailor our responses and our communication to what's best for them. And what's interesting is we tend to say, well, I just sent out, 1,000 emails. But if that's not what they need, it doesn't really matter. And it's like, it's a lot like children. If you've got children, they need to, children learn in different ways. We've got to teach in different ways. We've got to teach the way children learn. In the same way, we've got to deliver in a way that works best for our clients.
Now, if you just listen to Mary, she gave you some great examples, and you might be saying, well, she sells herself. She sells intelligence. She sells knowledge. I sell widgets. I still think it absolutely applies because we still create relationships with clients. And one of the things that I would say is you may sell widgets, but you know what? The buyer on the other end still needs information. They need insights. What can I be sharing with them that's going to help them do their job better? What's going to help them run their business better? What's going to help them, whatever it might be, whether it be B2B or B2C. But it's that level of engagement, that level of creating uncertainty. Okay, hey, we got to wrap the show up here in a bit, but what's your forecast since you do have a PhD in economics? What's your forecast for the rest of 22 and 23?
Well, stock market wise, it's going to continue to be a roller coaster. We're going to continue to see some wild fluctuations. That's econ talk for. There's going to be days when you do not want to look at your portfolio, and other days where you feel pretty good about yourself because you think, okay, I'm doing better than my friends, which is a terrible, terrible thing to say, but comparison is reality. It's going to be rough. For a variety of reasons. We know that the consumer price index is up. We know that inflation right now is 9.1%. We know that food prices, as I said before, are up 40%. We know that the housing market was on this wild, crazy upward trend. It's starting to settle down a little bit, but houses are not actually more affordable even at lower prices because of higher interest rates. We know that the job unemployment numbers right now are at 3.6%, but at 3.6% because the labor force participation rate has dropped. We know that there's people out there, and you are probably dealing with some of them who are double dipping. Maybe they're full-time at that company and they're the buyers for whatever. But guess what? During this time of recession, during this, I'm sorry to say that word, but during, this whole time of working from home, maybe they took on another part or full-time job to make ends meet. And maybe their time is more limited and maybe their attention span is shorter. So we know that there's a certain percentage of people out there who are working 2 full-time jobs. So just knowing that is, you understand your buyers are busier than they've ever been. They are facing uncertainty, challenges, crises, and changes like they've never seen before. And our job is to increase their happiness by taking away their problems. And keep in mind, most people, they just want more happiness. That's all they want. So we as salespeople need to focus on their happiness. What makes them happier? How can we give them more time, solve their problems, create the solution that they need right now? And that's that sense of urgency as well.
Wow. You just unpacked a lot there. Now, hey, people want to get in touch. Yeah, you going to stick around for the after the show?
Oh, of course. Wouldn't miss
Of course,
it.
you got to stick around for the after the show. Okay. So anyway, if somebody's got to leave us before the after the show, which is always the best part of the after the show, I don't know why I said that, but anyway, how do people get in touch with you?
I am Mary at productiveleaders.com. It's productiveleaders.com because who wants an unproductive leader? And it's Mary, Mary at productiveleaders.com. And I answer all my own emails.
Wow. Productiveleaders.com. Because I know I've been to your website. You've got a ton of content out there. You have written so many books that the Library of Congress has built a Dr. Mary Kelly wing just for you. So,
oh, if only. But I do have free stuff for your folks today if they want it.
Yeah, fire away.
So this is at productiveleaders.com/. 2022 success, like 2022 success. And in there is my vault of materials that people can just jump on in there. There's no sign-in required. It's just a whole bunch of free stuff that grows business and grows sales.
And we'll make sure we get that into the show notes. So what was that? What was that again? Productiveleaders.com
/2022 success.
Oh, cool. Great. Hey, we got to say goodbye to the show, but we'll be right back for the After the Show. Stick around. You've been listening to the Sales Hunter podcast. What is it about? It's about sharing with you insights. Each week, we bring to you a new guest, new insights that you can use and apply in your business. Let's go back to the show. Hey, Mary, thanks so much. Thanks for being on the show.
So much fun, Mark. Always so much fun to have time with you. I always learn.
And gee, let's see. We were together last week. Were we together last week at this time? Yes, we were. Probably we were in Nashville.
Last week, we were in Nashville and we were looking at best practices and ways to serve our clients even better.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to do a shout out here because if you are not part of a mastermind group, a peer group, you got to get engaged in one. You and I are in one with two other people, Sam Richter and Meredith Elliott Powell. And powerful, right? Wouldn't you say?
It is. I tell people all the time, it's the best part of my world is being able to collaborate with people who are smarter than I am, who also have the ability, license, and encouragement to let me know if I am heading business-wise in the wrong direction, if I am wasting time. You all hold me accountable for things that, frankly, I don't want to do. There's certain parts of running a business that I procrastinate on. I've written a book on procrastination. I still procrastinate. And you all sometimes provide me the right guidance and tweaks so that I kind of get out of my own head and just get things done. And I know a lot of people struggle with that. How do I get out of my own head and just get things done? And I've got tactics and I've got, the systems in place to do this. And it's still a struggle. The reasons I have these systems, of course, is because, I struggle with these things and, we all have to work on this.
And in my case, I'm just looking for a head with a mind. So I love hanging out with the three of you because again, it frames me up totally differently. So it is one of those things that I think business is done best when you have a peer group, when you have other people that you can collaborate with. So, hey, it's always good to have you on the show. We're at the 26-minute mark. So that means we're out of time. But anyway, hey, one more time, tell people where they can get in touch with you.
It's Mary at productiveleaders.com. And the site for free stuff is www.productiveleaders.com /2022 success.
And she gave you her email. That's how open she is. Mary, hey, always love hanging out with you. We'll be together again here in the month of August, right? In a few weeks.
We are heading to Minneapolis. We are going to make Sam Richter take us to dinner, and we are going to spend an entire 2 days trying to brainstorm even more about where things are going in the future and how we can help each other by helping our clients.
Hey, and then in December, we'll be together down here in Dallas. So anyway, hey, my name is Mark Hunter, the Sales Hunter. You've been listening to the Sales Hunter podcast. Our guest today, Dr. Mary Kelly, PhD, and a whole host of other initials, CSP, CPAE, so many letters that go behind her name. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Mark.